Welcome to the Guy Who Knows a Guy podcast. I'm your host, Michael Whitehouse, the guy who knows a guy himself, and we are recording live to tape at Potapalooza number 15. Over the past 5 years, I've had the privilege of meeting and learning from thousands of entrepreneurs, experts, and awesome people, and now I leverage that knowledge to help my clients cut through the junk and focus on just what they need to achieve their goals. And I'm excited to introduce our next guest, Brenda Marie Sheldrake. So I had a gap in my schedule. I thought I had a guest, and I didn't, mostly because my last one ran long, and I got back in, and I said, I don't have a guest, and Brenda's like, me, get me in there. So I am excited to have her here, and I think she's excited to be here, so this is going to be exciting. Brenda tells me she is a lead generation strategist who helps entrepreneurs build relationships for business. I do like the word relationships in business. So Brenda, tell us a bit about yourself and what makes you awesome.
Thank you so much. So I believe that my key to my awesomeness is in my ability to listen to people, to detect what is awesome about them, to point them to other people that they can help with their awesomeness. But second to that, I also have the secret ability to get people to feel confident enough to share what their biggest challenge is with me so that I can also share with them the people who can help them solve that problem, saving them endless hours and days and sometimes money searching for the right person.
Fantastic. Yeah, that is key, getting people to admit what their challenge is, and then listening to it. I ran a summit recently where I had someone who was a bit of a one-trick pony, and for every question, he had the same set of answers. And whether it was a mindset question or it was a delivery question, he was just in the sales space, and it was just sales answers. All he had was sales answers, and not everything, not everything's a nail. So, yeah, and so I like, you pay attention to what they need and help them find that solution, and then be able to share what they do. Um, so I, so when you talk about, lead generation strategists, what does that include? What do you help people do?
So for me, it's about qualified leads. There are lots of people, those messages that you get on LinkedIn, Michael, where somebody messages you and says, I can get you 200 leads by the end of the year. I can get you 1,000 leads by the end of the month. Sometimes they're that backwards, 1,000 leads by the end of the month. And you're going, I don't think so.
Here's a phone book.
And that's the thing. That's what they give you. They give you just anybody and everybody. It's like, I love the concept of BNI. I love the idea of connecting people with people. My challenge is when you show up at BNI and you don't have anybody to introduce anybody to, and the host goes around the room and says, okay, who are your introductions this week? And you go, Michael, you got to meet my neighbor.
Yep.
And even worse, when we hand them that little piece of paper that's got their neighbor's name and telephone number on it and says, it's okay, you can tell them that I sent you. Because for me, that's not an introduction. That's not even kin to an introduction. Because can't I just open up your LinkedIn and look at the people you're connected to and say, Michael told me to call?
Yeah.
But what's the next thing that the person does if they're the least bit smart? They're going to reach out to you, Michael, and say, Michael, this girl is on my LinkedIn and she says you told me to call her.
Mm-hmm.
Did you really tell me to call her?
Yeah.
And when you say, no, I didn't connect you to,
Game over.
they're never going to take my call ever again.
Yeah. Yep. So how do you help people get qualified leads?
So qualified leads, I believe, come from introductions and referrals as one of the strongest sources.
Hmm.
So I have courses, I have coaching, and I have a community. And I have free tips. I have lots of things that you can do for free. I have one of them. If we have time, I'll share it here, but I have lots of ways that you connect with people. One of the most important things that I advise everyone is no matter how good your solution is, no matter how good your course is, how good your coaching program is, that's not what you want to lead with on that first introduction call anyway. I think that's one of the most important things because people want to know. I want to know that you're interested in me
Yep.
before you hammer me with a solution
Yeah.
because I'm wondering what makes you think I need that solution.
Yeah. That's definitely that's a powerful thing. If you can identify someone's problem, they'll believe you have the solution. But if you leave the solutions, they're like, I don't know if that's for me. And that as a marketer observing the 2024 election, I saw that. Because one of the things I noticed was that Trump was talking about people's problems and Harris talking about solutions. And so he's talking about, like, don't you feel the prices are too high? Don't you feel, inflation's too high? Aren't you worried about this? Aren't you worried about that? And people are like, yeah, he gets me. He knows my problems. And meanwhile, Harris was like, well, here's a solution for housing, and here's a solution for inflation, and here's a solution. And they're like, I don't know what she's talking about with these grants, and I don't get it. Because she was speaking 3 steps down the road on these solutions, but wasn't actually talking to them where they were right now. And I think that was obviously a lot goes into politics and elections and whatnot, but I think that was certainly part of what we're seeing is that he was speaking people's language. He's like, you have this problem. And then even later, with some of the problems, he said, oh, yeah, that's a very complicated problem. I don't have a solution for it. I have some ideas, but I don't have a solution. It's a very complicated problem. But no one actually asked, what's your solution? They just said, yeah, that's my problem. Yeah, I get it. So
We're
he's actually
seeing
trying.
that. I 100% agree. We're seeing that in Canada too right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing. Like I stay away from politics as much as possible as far as I can get. But it's the same thing. We got one party that's saying if you have a problem, the big problem, you can't get into Toronto, into downtown Toronto right now because it takes you 4.5 hours because the highway infrastructure. So I've
Mm-hmm.
identified your pain point. Everybody who has to go to work in downtown Toronto feels that pain. And they're doing it with a lot of other issues as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you have to drive for 2 hours before you can get to a park or see any green space, we know your problem. We know that they're building condos on all the green space.
Yep.
Okay, so you know what my pain is, but they're not. Those people are the ones that people are going, oh, I gotta elect that person because they know what my pain is.
Yep.
But you're so right. A lot of times they don't have a solution.
Yeah. Yeah. But and so but this, which is not to say that you should talk about people's problems without having a solution and just pitch them.
No.
But it does tell you about the power of just speaking to people's problems before you start talking about how smart you are and how great your solutions are. So.
And when it comes to referrals, you don't, so I don't necessarily personally have the solution to every person's pain,
Mm-hmm.
but I've heard people share with me a lot of different pains. And so when they ask me, well, what's the solution? I don't always say, well, you need to do this, but I'm not afraid to say, you know what? It's outside the scope of what I can do, but you need to talk to Michael Whitehouse because he can solve that problem. You need to talk to this person because I've heard them share options for that.
Mm-hmm.
So you can help people in that way as well. Because one of the things that I do when I'm looking for people on LinkedIn that I want to connect with, I'm not looking directly for people who want help with their LinkedIn for relationship building. But what I'm looking for is other people who help people with LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a LinkedIn coach? Are you a business coach? Because if you're a business coach, you probably want your clients to have a LinkedIn presence. I believe all entrepreneurs should have a LinkedIn presence.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a marketing person, a LinkedIn presence is a good idea. So I build relationships with the marketing people, with the coaches. And then when I'm asking for introductions, because I believe in a world of abundance,
Mm-hmm.
so there's lots of people. When I say to you, Michael, have you met anybody as you've been going through your travels that when you looked at their LinkedIn, they had that LinkedIn gray banner? And I'm pretty sure that you could tell me, yes, that you've met a couple people who had the LinkedIn gray banner.
My memory tends to block them out because they're so unmemorable. But yes, I do encounter them.
So then I would say, well, if there's any of them that you can still think of, or as
Hmm.
you're going through your next set of calls, I would love to meet them because I think that before you can help them with their marketing, I need to spruce up their LinkedIn a little bit for relationship building.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a great and actually the ones that jump out at me more to slightly sidetrack into LinkedIn for a second is it like the gray banner I can deal with if they've got a proper profile picture and they got some content and it looks like a real account. But the ones that really turn me off are the ones where they are pitching from the top of the page. So where it's like, join my webinar and 6 weeks to six figures and blah 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 blah. Or I had someone, I get all kinds of cold friend requests on Facebook, and I accept half of them. I'm looking for one, are they a real live human being? Or are they like a scammer or a bot, which is half the friend requests. But also, do I think this is actually someone who's like a real person, or is this Facebook account a pitch machine? And if there's a like join my webinar link in their 20-word bio, I'm usually going to reject it because, okay, you're just here to pitch me. So either you're trying to pitch me here, or I'm going to accept this. You're going to send me a message. You're going to pitch me. I don't want to deal with that. And so, if it's all about like buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, I don't want to introduce that person. I don't want to talk to that person. I don't want to know that person. It's a huge turnoff. I know for years the experts were telling everyone, oh yeah, have your offer there. Let people know you're in business, put up the open sign. And we're getting away from that. And so if you're watching and that's your LinkedIn, you should change it. What are your thoughts?
I agree with you 100%. The one of the things I was saying on my last interview that I had just a few minutes ago was about the idea of artificial intelligence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's using artificial intelligence to make their profiles better, to improve their profiles. I think artificial intelligence is a wonderful thing and there are great ways to use it. Talk to somebody who's a pro at it and they're going to be able to help you with how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think before you decide which pro, because there's lots of people, what's one of the biggest things out there right now? People who are artificial intelligence experts. So before you decide which expert to work with, what Michael was saying right now is really, really key. Go look at their LinkedIn. Go see if their banner says join my group, take my course, buy this, buy that. If that's what's top of their profile, then you probably don't want to learn from them unless you want to learn to be like that. Because what you see them doing is probably what they're teaching. Another thing that I don't really like, and you just mentioned it in passing there, but it's a really strong pet peeve to me. If you install a bot and the bot is crawling people's profiles looking for keywords and then sending connection requests and messages,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to figure out I'm talking to a bot pretty quick.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe you programmed a few key things into it that it's going to answer properly a few times, but at some point I'm going to ask something or I'm going to say something. It's going to say something back that totally doesn't make sense. And I'm going to go, yep, this is a bot. And
Yep.
that's the end of our relationship building for me.
Yep. And that applies to VAs also, which VAs are just the bot of 2022. Yeah. So if it's not you, it shouldn't be speaking from your messenger account.
Yeah, yeah. When VAs try to sell me on the idea that they can book my appointments and that they can respond to my messages, you cannot, exactly what you just said. You can, a stranger, it'd be like me saying, Michael, can you respond to my LinkedIn messages for me? Well, you're going to do as good a job as the VA can do.
Yeah. But
And if you're using an AI tool, I don't believe that it matters how good you make your custom instructions.
mm-hmm.
They're still not going to be you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm going to ask a question that they're not going to be able to answer.
Yep. Yeah, I've had networking relationships ruined because I couldn't communicate with them because I tried to message them and I'd get their VA. And I haven't gotten that too much with bots, but I'd get their VA and I'd be like, okay, it's like dealing with a crazy person. Okay, who am I speaking to now? Am I speaking to Brenda or am I speaking to Susan? Yeah.
Yep.
I
Yep.
know it looks like Brenda, but am I really speaking to Brenda right now? So
Absolutely. Do we have a minute for me to share about a free tool that will help you build relationships,
we
though, Michael?
absolutely do, because everyone's been waiting. And if we don't do it, they'll be like, dude, what the heck? I
Okay.
promise free tools. Let's give the free tool. Give the people what they want.
The free tool is called My Most Trusted. Now, I want to be fully transparent. You can find My Most Trusted by going on LinkedIn and just putting in a search for My Most Trusted. I know the founder and creator personally myself. We have met in person. He lives in Australia, but he's been here to Canada and we've met together and sat together and talked. We know each other. I've been using the tool since it was created. Now, when it was originally created, the plan was to have a basic level that you could use for free forever. Unfortunately, that's not the case at this point because he's continued to make it better and better and it costs him more and more to run it. So he eventually starts to charge you. But what he has done that is remarkably generous is he's created a number of white label versions. And I happen to be able to share with you links to several of those white label versions that are free forever, not just temporarily, but forever. So you're welcome to go ahead and install My Most Trusted. You can go on YouTube and get videos to teach you how to use it, or you can reach out to me. I'll give you information on how to get one of the free versions, and then I'll also help you with how to use it. And that's all under the realm of free.
And how do they reach out to you?
Please connect with me on LinkedIn, my favorite platform. Send me a message, Brenda Marie Sheldrake. Say that you heard about this on Michael's Guy Who Knows a Guy podcast, and I will be happy to help you.
Fantastic. All right. Well, that is a great tip. And any other final thoughts you would like to share in our last few minutes?
I think my most important final thought is be willing to listen more than you talk when you book your one-to-ones. You can't find the solution if you don't hear the problem.
Absolutely. That is a great tip. Love that. So thank you so much for being on the show. I'm glad you leaped in and be like, I'm coming in this room. So great to have the chance to talk to you. And thanks for being a fan, because you said you've been in some of my summits and been in my universe. So great to have you on the show. Thank you.
Thank you.